net zero optimization, optimization of sustainable value chain of palm oil industry, energy management, resource conservation via process integration techniques, synthesis and analysis of biomass processing, and integrated biorefineries.
Next, the second panelist, Mr. Dennis Tan Boon Yong, the consultant in bio to business at Durian Berhad, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering and a Master of Business Administration. His expertise includes to build, retrofit, debottleneck, process optimization, and repurpose various process plants. He has 18 years of experience in the oils and fats industry and more than 10 years of direct hands-on involvement in the biodiesel sector.
Finally, the third panelist, Mr. Hee Chen Xiang, who is in charge of the Process Engineering Department at JJ Lergy, a leading technology solutions provider for the oil and fats industry. Some of the notable projects he has worked on include the largest edible oil refinery plant and the largest biodiesel plant in Indonesia, a fatty acid plant in Pakistan, and various edible oil refinery plants in China and South America. Without further ado, I now pass the floor to Young Perusaha Professor Danny Ng to deliver his presentation.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, first, I would like to, on behalf of the panels, I would like to welcome all of you to this POPSIC Roadshow. What I'm going to do is really to share with you some of the ideas that we have, mainly on how do we reduce the waste of making palm oil directly into more sustainable using a circular economy. I believe all of you know why we are here today. It's on the POPSIC, iChemie POPSIC Roadshow. It's really to promote palm oil sustainability and really enhancing your awareness towards the palm oil industry. So thanks MC for introductions. I'm Danny. I'm the Deans for School of Engineering and Technology in Sunway University and also the head chair for Malaysia Academic Research on Power Sustainability, APROS. This is a group of researchers that actually group together to work on sustainable palm oil. We work together to promoting all the research activity that we have for the palm oil industry. So that's me. My research area, I think you have mentioned already, focusing a lot on sustainable development for palm oil industry. I'm also currently the board of trustee in MPOCC. Probably you have heard the term MPOCC or MPOC. MPOCC is actually Malaysia Palm Oil Certification Council. They are the one who are providing the MSPO standard, Malaysia Palm Oil certifications, that certify all the palm oil stakeholders, ensuring they actually practice in a sustainable manner. And with this kind of a certification in place, we will hopefully all the stakeholders within the palm oil value chain will be able to work together to produce more sustainable palm oil for the world. So this is the APROS network as I mentioned. So we group of researchers come from various universities covering from the Peninsula Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. So we have representatives from UMS, University, Curtin, Swinburne and so on and so forth. Our objective is really to promote sustainable palm oil research and also working with all the stakeholders including the user as well as all the policymakers. As an APROS member, we sit in MPOCC when developing the MSPO standards. Just to give you a bit of background for those who are probably heard about palm oil and give you about knowledge about palm oil, where it comes from. Obviously, I'm sure that all of us have seen a palm oil tree. For those that haven't, then when you go the way to KLIA, that's where you see a palm oil tree when you are landed in the KLIA. So the only tree you see in the KLIA is palm oil tree. Okay, that's all the palm oil tree. In order for us to harvest the oil, or actually collecting the oil from the palm oil, we actually go through a fruit, it's called fruit bunches. During the extraction of the oil, we have generated a lot of different biomasses. Besides, during the harvesting of this FFB, we actually have to bring down the frond. Every time you harvest one fruit, you need to bring down 2 fronds. And after 25 years of planting, collecting all the fruits, you will have to do replanting because the tree is too tall, non-productive anymore. Therefore, it's difficult to harvest the fruits, therefore you need to replant them. And Malaysia is currently undergo a replanting cycles, therefore you can see there are a lot of area has been reduced, have been chopped off and then planting with the smaller palms. From the oil, we can refine them into different products, covering from the oil chemicals and so on and so forth. That's where you can hear just now from our panelists later. Those are their experts, refining the oil into oil chemicals and so on and so forth. So in general, what I can say, palm oil industry can be divided into 3 sectors, which is plantations. Second, processing, which is the refinery and the mill. And the last but not least, people may always forget is transportations. And that's what we call supply chain. And this is what I think Professor Lam area of research, how do we optimize the whole supply chain to achieve sustainable development and minimizing the CO2 emission? Because what we are doing nowadays is really talking about decarbonizations. Everyone, every sectors in the country, in the world are talking about decarbonization. Like it or not, this is something they're going to do in the next decades. We, especially the younger generations of the engineers, make sure you know what is decarbonizations, how can we support the industry to decarbonize, because that is going to be the next big job scope that's coming in. If you heard about a lot of the industry nowadays, they used to have CEO, CFO, which is the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Finance Officer, and whatever. Now they have CSO, Chief Sustainability Officer. A lot of the MNC has already have this position, and that's what they look at, how important of ESG is. ESG means stand for environment and governance and so on. So you need to really work on that. Being an engineer, being a chemical engineer, you can contribute in these sectors. In order for us to maximize the recovery of all these biomasses that I've seen used just now, you can actually convert into various products, covering using a method or integrated biorefinery. It's a concept that I developed more than 12 years ago. We have started this concept. It was brought by when I was working in US, where they use energy crop as a food stock. When I returned to Malaysia, I can notice that we have abundance of biomass, which is from palm oil. Therefore, I introduced this concept, and it has been now looking at the various ways to convert the biomass that we have into products and energy. Besides, there are a lot of research, more and more people looking on not only focusing on converting into products, they also look at how can we recover them into plantations. Therefore, you can see that people are working on fertilizers, recovering the nutrients from the biomass, convert into biofertilizer, and then send it back to the plantations. Besides, they also recover the water that they have using for power generations. This is something very common that you have seen in the industry where you see biogas productions, where they convert the pomade, which is the palm oil meal effluents, which are high in concentration of COD and BOD, then use the anaerobic digestion to convert into biogas. With that, they can convert further into energy. Some of them, they're also exploring converting the biogas, which is 60%, 62% of methane, upgrade it to become biomethane. So when we define biomethane, we is referring to 92% of CH4 to 95% of CH4. That will be equivalent to what we have in the natural gas pipeline. There are a lot of research going on that space to really look at how do we convert all these products into valuable products that we can use in the different sectors. But one of the challenges that we always face is if we are purely focused on our own palm oil industry, we have limited opportunity. In order for us to enhance this further, so my work with my recent students, one of my graduate students who are now in the industry, to look at how can we contribute and using palm oil as a sectors impacting the other industry. So we have the palm oil sectors convert into biorefinery. We are not only looking at our own agriculture, which is the plantations, we are also looking at other agriculture. For example, you can convert your biomass that you have into activated carbon or even biochar. Biochar you can return to the soil because biochar is porous materials which is very good for soil microbe. And with biochar introducing into the agriculture sectors, the productivity, overall productivity of the agriculture can increase significantly. And that has been studied in various countries. For example, in Hong Kong, in particularly, they have a lot of bamboo. They actually convert the bamboo into biochar and then returning those biochar into plantations. And that's what we can do for palm oil. Besides, we also can look at polymer industry, mattress industry, paper industry, wastewater industry, and any other industry. So this is really to promoting a circular economy concept whereby do not focus only on palm oil sectors because there are a lot of opportunity for you to recover the biomass that we have or the wastewater that we have. And with the optimization model that we built, so we can actually putting all the flow sheets. I will not bother you with the flow. Basically just to show you that we can integrate all the biomass together with all the different sectors together. Okay? And I won't draw you too much of time because I think we have a lot more to discuss later on during the panel discussion. This is just give you an overview on how can we recover, how can we produce a sustainable palm oil, not only looking at the deforestation and whatever. In the downstream itself, we can, being an engineer, we can do much more than we can now today. All right, thank you very much. That's my university. For those who doesn't know, is beside Sunlight Pyramid. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see who is the next. Okay, let me pass the mic to Mr. He.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm Chen Xiang. I'm from JJ Legge Engineering. We, JJ Legge, is a technology solution provider company, engineering solution provider for oil and fat industry. I'm very happy to be here because all our works are do with the palm oil value chain, and yeah, we want to contribute to part of the sustainability of palm oil. As a technology solution provider, we play our part in the palm oil sustainability industry, mainly by technology innovations. Like Professor Danny has said, we integrate the technology solutions for refining of crude material from plant-based to be oleochemicals or etc. That is an alternative from petrochemical source, as example. Our industry is green in nature and we intend to make greener. What we do is that we improve our technology plant, our processing plant. We improve the overall, let's say, the energy efficiencies to reduce the utilities consumptions from the fossil fuels such as diesels, the usage of waters, and etc. How we do that is that we are looking into breakthrough in this kind of the optimizations that enable the high output with the lowest consumptions per ton of the product that we are producing. We select equipments that are potentially renewable energy driven, such as we do a lot of electrifications that selecting the electric boiler as an example, than the conventional diesel powered boiler or other type of natural gas boiler. Yeah, we could also look into the biomass or the biogas, for example, that for the technology that we are providing. Yeah, so we are constantly looking into reducing carbon footprint for the plants that we are providing to the industrial player. By reducing the carbon footprint, we believe that we can make the whole palm oil value chain more sustainable with this renewable energy. Yeah, that's for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yi. And we'll pass to Mr. Dennis Tan.
Hello everyone. So I think I'm bringing some business perspective into this engineering discussion and also related to the palm industry. So basically what I'm doing here is that, it's for a company, so we do a lot of consultancy work. And then we also do a lot of JV where we partners with people from oil mill and people from oil and gas industry. And then we also do a lot of buying of sludge oil, UCO. We call it the new black gold because all these waste material as of now, and you are able to convert them into something very useful and then something that can contribute to the impact of reducing the overall carbon saving, right? For example, we buy a lot of this sludge oil from palm oil mill, from a restaurant, those UCO. We also import those tallow. We also import those sludge oil from Indonesia, right? So what we do here is that we partner with some of these refinery or biodiesel plant, and then we do some these joint venture. We inject capitals, and then we sort of like having a sort of partnership and linking them to these oil and gas company, for example, like BP, Repsol, Shell. So by selling them the feedstock for HVO production. So I'm not sure how many of you know what is HVO, right? So HVO is basically a hydrotreated vegetable oil where it can be used in your jet fuel. Jet fuel, the one you fly in Asia, the one you fly in Mars, that there is some announcement they are trying out with this HVO, right? So, and then or alternatively, you can call it a sustainable aviation fuel called SAF, right? So imagine the plane that you're flying is actually part of it are coming from the palm sludge oil. That it's the beauty of chemical engineering that we can make this happen. And then basically, that is a big business potential there. So basically that this is kind of a new venture now. So, we are in part of business that makes this closing out the loop, for all the waste, and then we turn it into this, the new black gold, right? So this is basically what we are doing, yeah. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, back to myself. Again, I'm Lam from University of Nottingham. So I would like to introduce again, based on what Prof. Danny said just now. Actually, we are looking for optimization as well as how to make our process more friendly to environments by recruiting new input and new output. These are more environmental friendly. So today our scope is based on the palm oil. Besides those technology dimension, actually we can extend it to two more dimensions. If you look at my slide, now we are doing is another layer is called lean and green analysis. Because when we talk about the supply chain or value chain or circular economy chain, so it cannot really work if we are not talking about management. So we have to encourage those management become lean and green. Yeah, so lean and green, then we are talking about from management side how to reduce the waste, minimize the materials, minimize the time wasting and so on. Yeah. So another extended dimension that we have to talk is when we talk about all those new technology, where is our landing part? Actually, we have to go back to one fundamental thing is we call Sustainable Development Goals or SDG, whatever. Yeah. So that will be our final goals that we need to be landed there. So those are conclusion for my research. So those students after advertisement, so we got two academic here and then two industry here. So if you really feel interested in this industry, then you can try to work with us. Yeah, either academically or industry also can. Yeah. So without further delay, we start our session by today. So later on we are going to have Q&A as well as teaching sessions. So I really encourage all of you, okay, participate. Yeah. So the more is more merit. Okay. So later on, those Q&A, I hope that you really put in yourself as a real future engineer and ask questions. Okay. Everyone knows today we are talking about SDG. Don't ask, is your industry involved with SDG? Don't ask this kind of questions. Yeah. So don't ask those closed questions, yes or no. Yeah. Ask more open questions and so on. Right? Don't ask, do we have a female engineer join your company? Don't ask those, yeah? So, Of course, if you don't worry, just ask whatever. I just give you some hints. Yeah, ask more quality questions. And then those who try to do pitching, I really encourage every one of you to. Those who are not well prepared, then you can listen to those started first. Then please try yours. Okay. So those pitching one, you can address your opinions. Okay, and then we try to have some feedback to your opinions. And after your pitching, also you can put some questions that meaningful for us, not only for of us, but for the crowd and floor to have thinking as well. Yeah. So let's start. Who want to start first? Either question or pitching? Come on, the first one I will give you some extra marks. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so good afternoon. I'm Per from UM. Yeah, so okay, today actually quite nice that today's topic is about circular economy as well, because what I prepared is also in regards with this. So yeah, let me just start. Okay, so I believe I'll skip the introduction and stuff because just now it was already quite explanatory. So today I feel like as engineers we have roles to find and justify what materials we want to use, how we want to build this circular economy. I believe this is a very long time. This term is here for a long time, but I don't think that it is very established yet. Even though just now when the presentation was about each industry or academics were already doing research, I still don't feel that it's, how do I say that, how do I phrase that? I don't feel that it's something that everybody's doing. So I believe that the most important and hardest challenge would be to actually promote a circular behavior as a whole, not just in industry or not just academics. Because how we know what is the right thing to do, we don't actually do it right way. If it's really like, if education is all it takes to make the world a better place, then I believe the world would be a better place. But it's said that we are not. So in accordance to the SDG 12, that I believe that responsible consumption and production is a very hard thing to achieve, even though it's placed in the roadmap. Because that if we have this circular behavior, then it will eventually lead to redesigning current value chains and then aligning circularity with business interests, and also in the long run design effective policies. And I think that is how we should pave the road. And so here comes the question for the panelists, that I would like to know, who do you think should hold the greatest executive responsibility, as in like the main person in the middle? Like how do you make sure that the whole world is running in this? Because industry itself, they separate into different companies and not everyone has the same vision. How do we make this like a very whole good picture, complete picture? Yeah, and yeah, so actually just now after the presentation, this is like after the pitch, other than what I was mentioning just now, I have a question that's I want to know what you guys think about carbon offset, because carbon offset is like, please correct me if I'm wrong, right? So some people actually pay for their carbon that they put out, and then they call that carbon neutral. But I believe that's not very moral. So I would like to hear from you guys. Thank you so much. That's from me.
Okay. Thank you. What's your name? Sorry.
Pen.
Okay. Ted, thank you for your pitching as well as a lot of good opinions. Then your question is very good questions. Then briefly about two. One is the responsibility, one is about the offset, whether it really happens or not. Yeah. So maybe I ask Prof. Danny to answer to your questions. Later the second question maybe Danny to help.
Okay. So I will take your first questions. Who take the responsibility to uphold this, promoting this circular economy or sustainable development in palm oil. To me, is every stakeholders have to play their roles, but how do we promote them to work together? In the industry, it's very simple. There are two drivers. One is business, where you make it positive, more money you can generate, or more profit to the company, they will do it. Second, governance. It's a requirement for them to do it. So how can we do these two it's a carrot and sticks kind of approach that we have to do. First, I would say we have MSPO. Malaysia Sustainable Palm Oil Certification is actually promoting sustainable practices. I think we have to go by different stages. We cannot, straight away ask them to do sky high work. The first step by steps, educate them. Because previously they said they have done this growing for the past 40 years, 50 years. They don't even know what to do. This is the best person. So I think the MSBO has educated them now to be more sustainable practice, number one. Second, once you get into it, now everyone, I think if you read the MSBO standards, now the later versions, they actually require them to report their CO2 emissions. Only reporting, they have not tracking. So it's just like, okay, everyone, what you do, what have you done, and then how can you actually achieve what is the CO2 emission for your own productions. That's all. Phase 2 of this MSBO, the news versions of coming up, is going to be tracking. Because whether you like it or not, European actually asks for questions, how much CO2 you produce for per liter of CO2, CBO that you have, or oil products that you have, right? So we need to know about transparency. I think that comes into the pictures of governance, need to ensure everyone follow the guidelines. And with that, then we were able to promoting all this circular economy or sustainable productions. Just take note of that. Before all this concept has introduced, you may notice already in the palm oil sectors or some players, because of the interest of the other sectors, they're already selling. It's not new. The concept that I show you is not very new actually. It's already doing it. It's just a matter of, is it the optimum way? Is it a global optimum way? Is it the best way? Or just trading it because they have a client just want to buy it? This approach is actually bringing up in the overall pictures is how can we optimize it as a whole, as a region, as a country. I think that is the concept that we are trying to introduce. But I said, the market is already slowly absorbing it. We can achieve sustainable productions in the near future. Thank you.
I think the second part regarding on the carbon, I would say it's a carbon accounting or carbon economy that you mentioned, right? So in fact, I can do a lecture for this for whole day. So because that it's a huge aspect of this, right? So I give you two examples, right? So one example is the ICC. So we call it the International Standard Carbon Certification. So that is required for all biofuel that is sold to the EU regions, right? So for example, that carbon accounting is all the way from palm oil mill, including the transportations, the tanker sent to the refinery, and refinery go to the biodiesel plant. The biodiesel plant go to the shore tank take the ship bunker, go into Rotterdam. So all this carbon is captured, and then there is a certain minimum requirement of carbon savings. It's required to sell into EU market under the RED III, so which is Renewable Energy Directive that is imposed by these EU parliaments, right? So that's why that this is already in place on this carbon accounting and carbon economy, right? So there is a premium attached to those biofuel that uses the least amount of this carbon to produce per ton of biodiesel, for example, right? So that is already in place. And then the second part is on the coming up from the big corporate like P&G, Unilever, where they have a policy called responsible sourcing, and then where they will impose these carbon saving requirements to their supplier. For example, that let's say from KLK, where they need to supply them this fatty alcohol, which is an ingredient for the shampoo, and then they will require, let's say for example, KLK to reduce the carbon footprint of their total carbon footprint to produce per ton of this fatty alcohol. Let's say by 5%, right? So that's already in place. So I think that that is a huge scope for chemical engineers to try to see, where we can optimize the process, reduce energy, or optimize the yield and all these things in order to bring down the total carbon footprint.
Okay. Yeah, please, Mr. He.
Okay. I come from the first part. Who shall be responsible for the entire execution? I think, like Professor Dennis said, all stakeholders are playing a part. Yeah. The main important is the governance. Example for the industrial usage, a lot of the industrial usage are actually governed by different legislations in the different countries. Example, in the EU, they have very strict governance that using the CFCs that is potentially causing a global warming is phasing up. We are using a green ammonia in this case. Like example in China, you may think that they're having the industry is very dirty and causing a lot of pollution. But to be honest, not in this era, Chinese government are actually imposing a very strict energy efficiencies to be even stricter than most of the part of the world. So I think governance from the regulatory form is quite important. And of course, the other part is that from a consumer side, also we play a part. Yeah, example like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, which is our client for fatty alcohol productions. Why are they being driven in achieving such sustainability by reducing carbon footprint? Because consumers are watching them, right? Because what they are labeling themselves as a green producer would enhance their reputations. I think all of us play a part in this role.
Okay, thank you for our three of our speakers just now. And my own answer is, no matter the responsibility or the how to say, executive and so on, the answer is on yourself. Because you all is our future, you will be our future politician, future researcher, future CEO. Of course, you are the buyer, but you will be the future rich buyer in the future. So you are the one who determines where should we go, yeah? So please make sure that yourself be active, yeah, for the future. So let's welcome the second student. Tell us your name and where do you come from?
Hello, hi Chen. Okay, so my name is Ming Jing and I come from US, currently a year 1 chemical engineering student. So I just want to ask a question instead of teaching. So my question is, can palm oil be eventually used to substitute fossil fuels in the future? Is it this technology possible to achieve in the future? That's all my question.
Okay, thank you. Maybe each of us can give some opinion.
The answer is yes, technologically feasible. Palm oil can replace fuel. It's just a matter of economically feasible or not. So technologically, it's not a challenge at all. So I'm sure that all of us know that CPO can convert into biodiesel. It's just that whether you want to do it or not at this juncture. What is the fuel price today versus what is the fuel bio CPO price today? It's not economically feasible, that's all. You look at that, therefore you see we look at biofuel, jet fuel. That is a different story. Because you are upgrading into a high value products, then you can use it for jet fuels and others that might be coming into pictures. Because any day when you go to the industry, it's always 3 P's. I mean, the 3 E's like environmental, profit, and the people. The 3 P's, right? Profit, and planet, and people. So you like it or not, your profit also play a role. You cannot lose money just doing because it's a more environment-friendly way. So I want to, sacrifice all my money in the world to really make it environmental friendly, which is not feasible. And that is also something we call it non-sustainable solutions. The olden days when CPO price is about less than 1,000, therefore you can see the whole country we are populated with biodiesel plant. Today, most of them already shut down because the CPO price was shot up too high, and your product price is kept in a constant, while versus your raw material is too expensive, so it's not feasible. Therefore, when I say converting into biodiesel, my advice is always go for waste oil. For example, waste cooking oil you get from McDonald's, KFC, and so. So those are the oil that potentially use it as a source of your biodiesel conversions. And then CBO will be used as a food consumptions because, like it or not, all our products in our daily life, including your oil that you cook, the detergent that you use, the shampoo that you use at your bathroom, and all these products, including the spread, the hazelnut spread that you have, also consume palm oil. So it's so much of things that you can use palm oil for. Therefore, I would say we should keep it as a food, but technologically, it's feasible. It's just a matter of what should we do for our food that we have. Thank you.
Any add-on from Mr. He, Mr. Dennis?
Yeah, just add on a little bit. Like Prof. Dennis said, it's all about the supply and demand side for the business. Yeah. And I'm not the economic expert, but what I've read in the news is that edible oil is having shortage because of the interest in the biofuel nowadays. And technology-wise, there is absolutely no problem to convert into biofuel that is a replacement of fossil fuel whatsoever. But when we are looking about the volume, how much volume is palm oil is ready at the market, and how much fossil fuel that you are required is it does not make the entire picture. We still require the alternative renewable energy sources, be it solar or whatsoever. Palm oil could not be the only alternative for fossil fuel. It can be part of it, but it's not the entire whole.
Maybe I just.
Yeah, next to Dennis.
Okay, maybe I just do one sharing. So I did make I think last time I did a presentation in Monash, I do a simple statistics, right? So you have about 280 million tons of vegetable oil. If you convert all of them into biodiesel, that can only feed 5 days of total fossil fuel consumption per day, for the whole world, right? So even all vegetable oil add up together, you can only feed for 5 days. So that replacement may not be, it's not totally not possible, but then that could be a good mix of energy mix. We call it the energy mix that that can diversify your energy portfolio. So I think that has a role to play, but then it all boils down to the economy.
Yeah, on top of that, actually Malaysians try our best because from our diesel we have B5, now going to B10, but our neighboring country go to B15, B20.
Now is Indonesia B35.
Indonesia, our neighbor, 35. 35. So it's about policies that we are going to make. So this is why I encourage you to be a good green politician also in the future. Okay, next student.
Hello, so good afternoon. My name is Anderson and I'm coming from Government University, Malaysia. So my teaching start here. So as the rest of the world, sustainability is marked as important in Malaysia. It's evident that it has successfully developed into a global sustainability hub, in addition being the world's second largest palm oil producer. So moving on into Industry 4.0, the transition from linear economy into circular economy in palm oil industry contributes towards the Sustainable Development Goal Chart, responsible consumption and production. We understand in theory that the anaerobic degradation of palm oil meal effluent from the extraction process will produce biogas containing methane. The methane captured as renewable energy source is used to generate electricity to the palm oil mill, which closes the loop and forms circular economy. I believe in the same time, SDG 7, 11, and 13 can be achieved as well. However, looking into the reality, it is concerned that coal-mine treatment can't actually keep up with its massive production, given that less than 1/3 of palm oil mill built in Malaysia operates a biogas plant. Plus, The low return on investment for biogas production contributes to the absence of a holistic approach in controlling pollution. Moreover, the lack of incentive for biogas treatment as well as the lack of support for policy instruments resulting in the methane capture becomes unattractive for stakeholders to invest. In addition, given that the technology in biogas plant is still in the process of development in Malaysia, implementing the circular economy in reality still remains a long-term challenge. Hence, my question is, with the huge technology transfer gap existing between the academic and industry, what is the proper framework required to incorporate circular economy for palm oil industry in Malaysia? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is about how to incorporate this idea in the transformation of from academic to the real industry practitioners. Maybe Danny can start first.
All right, good questions. I think this is not only happen in palm oil. Gaps between academic and industry is happen everywhere. If you study Science Outlook 2020 and even start from 2015, 2017, published by Academy Sciences Malaysia under the MOSTI, they have been highlighted that we are lack of connections between the academic and the industry. Like I said, it's not only in palm oil. So how do we resolve that? If you look at policy levels or governance level, they have started a lot of initiatives under the ministries called agency. For example, under the E&E sectors, they have something called CREST. For those probably in E&E sectors where we hear about this funding mechanisms governance by the MOSTI, it is the agency that promoting collaborations between academic and industry. They put them together, they put the proposals or project together, they have to call sponsors and eventually commercialize the products from the projects, funded through CREST. MOSTI is also looking at a lot of new funds now. For those academic, you might heard about all these strategic funds coming in, quite a big lump sum. They fund up to 15 million for the strategic funds, really to want to see the academic work in industry. And the strategic fund normally is championed by industry and supported with academic, not vice versa. This is the approach I would say the country is taking place. They are trying to do the best to promoting and closing the gaps. But one on the side note is, to me personally, I would say myself is a bit hybrid. I serve as academic, if you know my background, but I do work closely with industry. I have projects with industry a lot in the past, funded by various companies. Because I personally believe that being academic, I need to walk out from my office and then go to the industry, talk to people, share my knowledge, not only just giving lectures in my room or my hall, but also go out to the industry to talk to people. At the same time, I learn from them. What I say means I need to know what is their pain point, what is the difficulties that they are facing. Then when you approach them, they will know that you actually know what am I looking for. Give you an example, one of the cement company approached my university 3 days ago. We had a meeting. The first thing that they will talk about, yeah, we should look at collaboration, whatever. But one thing that I just highlighted to them, I know that you consume a lot of power. And I know that you consume a lot of electricity. One thing that I can do for you is simple, to help you to reduce your CO2 emission, but at the same time, reduce your power consumption. Full stop. That person straight away said, I would like you to engage with my strategic officer. Because the moment I start up my boiler, I'm burning a BMW X5 series into it every day. If you can just save 1%, I can buy how many cars every day. So you need, being an academic, you cannot just go and tell whatever it is, but you need to know what they are doing and what is their weakness, their pain point that they are facing, and then go out with it. And that's where you can provide good solutions and work together. As I said, you won't push a solution to them, but you need to co-develop the solution together. And that's where you can really bridge the academic and the industry together. All right, thank you.
Okay, I think Mr. T as well as Mr. Dennis will be the good example and role model how academic transform them become the industrial practitioner with the circular economy or sustainable background. Maybe both of them can share the transformation inside themselves.
Okay, so we are engineering solution provider, JJ Logi. We do a lot of example of converting polymer into a usable product or fuels, doing the HPO treatment, etc., etc. The technologies are not there in the first place. Yeah, the polymer previously are no people interest. Now we can see that there are initiatives of funding from companies like Petronas. They are asking us, could we do something, yeah, to achieve certain feedstock converting to the possible fuels. Yeah. So I think there are certain drives from the let's say the Petronas is government owned. Yeah. So I think there are certain drives from the government to develop this, especially the palm oil industry, to you see that we have a not so good reputations from the EU or whatsoever. We are trying to improve these reputations, and there are initiatives between governments, between companies like us and the academia. When Petronas have this kind of research program, we will approach the academic to do a collaboration. Yeah. We will require their expertise in doing certain experiments and the theory behind it, and then we could implement it to the industrial scale. I think this is where we place our part.
I can only think of the classic example is Prof. Chong, who academia become entrepreneur, and then dealing on these wastewater and polymer, these polymer treatments. So maybe just to update you on what's going on in the industry in terms of polymer, right? So actually there are a lot of palm oil mill in Malaysia already implemented the carbon, what do you call it, the methane capture, and then they are linking into the power generator, and then they are supplying back to TMD at a certain feed-in tariff, right? So there are already a lot of plants are doing that, and then some of the plants, I think Prof. Danny was mentioned that, I think one of the fell down project or some WP project, I can't remember. So they have concentrated these, what do you call it, the methane gas into the bio-CNG or bio-compressed natural gas, or 95% of these methane, this thing. And then you can sell it to the retail, and then you can actually cook it, on your these kitchens, right? And then there's another thing is GITA, which I'm currently applying. So there is a green fund called GITA, I think by the Ministry of, I cannot remember which ministry. So they have this funding, encourage green technology, funding this green technology. And then there's a lot of banks out there that have also green funding. So they are funding you to build the plant in terms of capex, and also providing fund for your cash flow. So you can see that there is a paradigm shift. There's a lot of fundings are now available for this green technology and green business. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opinions. Let's welcome next student.
Okay, hi, I'm Tan. I'm not joining the pitching, but I have some things to ask. So as we know, the deforestation has become one of the serious problems in Malaysia, and the increasing usage of palm oil has been considered as one of the major drivers that leads to the deforestation. So may I know what is your take on this? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so about deforestation, I think this is a hot topic that being attacked by those so-called developed country, which is, I don't think they are very green also. So when we talk about deforestation, let me explain my opinion. So it's very unfair to judge the developing country with the term deforestation because we need the land for development. We should judge this country policy, how many percent of the land is kept for forest. Yeah, for Malaysia, I think we still have close to 60%, if not mistaken. Is it good enough? If this 60% is good enough, then deforestation shouldn't be an issue for Malaysia. Yeah, else it's really very unfair judgment to say that we cut down forests and so on. Yeah, because we are still developing country. Well, my professor told me that Malaysians should be ready to be developed country, not always say that we are developing country and use this as an excuse to do something bad. So anyway, I think before we discuss about deforestation, should be judging this in fairness first. Yeah.
All right, maybe I answer the questions. First, I think Prof. Lam have mentioned very clearly. Do you know how many percent of our land are covered by forests? Probably my question for the floor also. Do you know how many percent of our forests, our land in Malaysia are covered by forests today? Okay, it's 55 to 60%. Okay, Malaysia has committed to gazetted 55% or more to really on the lands that we doesn't want to touch. And because palm oil is our largest agriculture industry in the country, Malaysian governments have already committed to a maximum size of 6 hectares, 6.02 hectares, maximum size of land to be cultivated palm oil. In order for you to cultivate palm oil nowadays, you need to apply for a land to be converted to a palm oil land. It's a special category. It's not a normal agricultural land that you have. It says to be palm oil listed there. You have to convert that. And that's how they tracked it. Is this 6 point something, is it a magic number? The answer is no. The minister actually went state by state. If you know, Malaysia is operated in a way that we have state government, we have federal government. Land is actually a state government issues. Federal government is the Ministry of Plantation or whatever. So ministry has to go state by state to get consensus from the states. What is the land size that we're going to use for cultivating the palm oil? And total up whatever we committed, not opening up whatever new land that we have, that is the maximum of 6 point something. And it has been listed clearly in the MSPO standard that we will not exceed that. It's a national commitment for MSPOs. Therefore, for those people who are talking about, yeah, we are open up new lands and then whatever it is, so it's within that 6 point something. And we already gazetted whatever we should. That's number one. Second, if you see a lot of reputation of videos, killing orangutans and whatever, I think you need to really digesting the knowledge that you gain. Is that true that you were killing orangutan at all time? Okay, I think we have a reserve that for all the orangutan actually protected space for them. But at the same time, you may see, oh yeah, there's logging and then a lot of palm oil is growing there and things like that. It's difficult. Number one, there are a lot of replanting now. That's why if you notice, you track on the plantation area in the past 5 years, it's actually declined, not increased. It has reached to 5.9 and then dropped to 5.8, now almost approaching 5.7. Reasons being, again under the MSPO standard, saying that all the plantation in the pit soil has to be evacuated and reforested. So we are going to have more reserve land than before. Because we're going to convert all this ex-palm oil in the pit soil, become a forest, a mangrove again. There are a lot of monitoring satellites going on to capture all these projects. Malaysia government actually launched another, what they call the agency to their job is simple, rehabilitation of the mangrove. That's all. The job is just rehabilitation, and there has been doing a lot of projects at the moment on the ground, rehabilitations, remove the palm oil from the pit, and then rehabilitate those area, become a mangrove again. I think that is the message that we need to send out, telling the world we are doing our best, not saying that no, we are continue deforesting and then planting more tree and tree, but we actually do less planting. But one thing that how can we feed the world? I think because palm oil is actually the largest or the most productive oil in the world, like it or not. So how do we do it? I always say this, maximize the productivity. That's what you need to do. Being a genius, we lose a lot of oil during the processes. Can we do something to reduce the oil loss from the fruitlets? Then you can have more oil and more productive. We always need to think about how can we increase the productivity per hectare of land. I think that should be the conversation that we need to look into. I think instead of open up new land, which I also always against, or open up new land just for planters. I don't that. I want to maximize productivity, but in reality, we are not. So I think just because you are the young generation, like Prof. Lam said, you may be the young politician in the future. Please get your facts right. When you go out to the world, speak facts. Don't speak perception. I think a lot of people are actually just perception speaks, not the facts. Find the facts right and tell the world. I think that's our role. Being a Malaysians, please continue doing the good work. Thank you.
Okay, left hand left student.
Good afternoon. I'm Alvin and I'm final year student in University of Malaya. So I have a question related to biochar. So as what we know that the biomass can be gasified and pulverized to form biochar. And according to my research, there are only SME contribute on the biochar market. And most of its global market size are contributed from the European country. So since Malaysia has the potential to produce large amount of biochar from the oil palm industry, so can Malaysia contribute more to the global market size of biochar in the future? So nowadays, is there any market for biochar in Malaysia? And allow me to ask another question related to SAF. So may I know any method that can be implemented to fully commercialize SAF as jet fuel? So since the cost of producing SAF is currently higher than that of the conventional fuel and its production is limited. So I want to know about how is the solution. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you for questions about, we make a summary about two questions. One is about the biochar and the future markets or future development for biochar. Okay, another one is about SAF. Okay, so which panel would like to take the questions?
I'll take the. Okay, I'll take the SAF since I'm this line, right? So SAF, normally we talk about HVO. There is two main streams, right? So one main stream we call co-processing, the other one is called HVO, right? So give you two examples, right? So co-processing is where you blend these whatever treated or refined oil or sludge oil that go direct into their existing petroleum refinery, right? Pretty simple. So it's just a blending, right? For another process is called HVO. It's run by, for example, the company called Neste in Singapore that feed directly with these refined oil/refined sludge oil, go directly into their process, and then through the last process is called isomerizations, where they have a different boiling point. Is the top part will be this SAF. The technology is already there, and you will see the next 3 to 5 years there will be a lot of HVO plant built up. And then Petronas, we are talking to them in the project. They already have a pilot plant in East Port Dickson, and then they are going to build a new plant, I think together JV with E&I in this Bangaran site, right? So you see Indonesia, Pertamina are building the plant. You see this Sabah side, I think they are doing another HPO plant in Sabah. So the technology is there. So I think that we will see the HPO time coming very soon in the next 3 to 5 years, right? So the only thing is that the problem is that whether do we have enough lipid feedstock to feed in those huge giant plants, and then they have to compete. They see that there is one more thing. There's one more aspect I have to mention is the subsidy, right? So all these SAF, they are heavily subsidized because they are a lot more expensive than the conventional fossil fuel, right? So, and then the problem is that how long can this subsidy go on? And then how long that can this process be optimized to be competitive to fossil fuel? Or another way is how much more expensive will this fossil fuel be in the future? Yeah, so these are the equations.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. How about biochar? Biochar, if we look into slightly further, biochar can be converted to activated carbon. That can be a lot higher price. For example, 1 ton can go to 8,000 ringgit. If we have better grade, can be go to 9 or 10,000 ringgit per ton. So it's about, I think technology is still there, just we need to invest, make it more effective and so on. At this moment, I think activated carbon, the market still conquered by the coconut shell and fibers. I think palm-based fiber convert to biochar as well. I go to the activated carbon, not the hard also. Just we need to start this market. Maybe you can take this as your final year project.
Maybe just to follow up on what Prof. Sam suggested, really activated carbon. My university actually had a group of researchers doing centers for carbon reductions. They're not using biochar as the char itself, they are upgraded by activated carbon. At the same time, they use this activated carbon as a source of absorbent for CO2 emissions reductions. So they're using it as an absorbent into an absorption column to reduce CO2 in the chimney. So if you look at that kind of a prospect going out in the future, it's going to be a big thing. And your char is not only a char, but it is an absorbent that you can reduce CO2. And why this is particularly important, like I mentioned just now, in the next 10 years or next 1 decade, like it or not, decarbonization will be a big thing. Everyone will going to do it, like it or not, it is something that is demand. Having that in place now, then it will be able to create a market itself. On the other note, biochar itself already a negative emissions reduction strategies. There are a lot of research has been done on LCA model, whereby you can convert your biomass into char, you return the char into the soil, and that's already considered CO2 emissions from the particular sectors. So I think having all this in place, as I said, in the next 10 years, this will fly. You're going to see more jet fuel, you're going to see more projects on using such material as the absorbent to do carbon reductions. You see, when you absorb the CO2 in the carbon absorption, and you return back to the soil, is double carbon reductions. And this will create a big carbon credit for the sectors to be able to trade in those markets in the future. So I think, to me, it's a big thing. If you really want to venture into this area, it will be a good future. Thank you.
Okay, let's call for next student.
Hi, I'm Kai Jin, chemical engineering year 1 student in UM. So my pitching topic is, you guys keep mentioning about the economic benefits, management and industry of palm oil. But I would like to start off with a more biological side, which is, for example, I have to illustrate it. When we cook, people will prefer olive oil instead of palm oil, and according to some health research also, palm oil contains mainly saturated fats, which can raise the bad cholesterol in our body, while olive oil contains mainly unsaturated fat, which is more can give more healthy to us, and which can improve the profile of blood cholesterol. And in short, I found that olive oil has more benefits than olive oil besides the health issue, health aspects. And the selling price of the olive oil is also relatively higher than palm oil. So since then, why don't we shift our focus to olive oil instead of palm oil plantation? Because it seems like olive oil industry can bring a larger economic impact to our country. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olive Oil. No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably I have a questions for the students also. How much olive oil that you can extract per hectares of land versus how much palm oil that you can extract per hectares of land? Yeah, maybe you have the answer. Come.
Based on my research, I think olive oil is, I think palm oil is can extract more than olive oil, but then there's also more other benefits of olive oil compared to palm oil. So what is the justification that we choose palm oil instead of olive oil? Yeah.
Okay. I think you agree with me that palm oil produces more per hectares of land. Do you know what's the magnitude? It's more than 10 times versus olive oil. Imagine we produce the same palm oil or same oil that we want from olive oil. Simple maths. You need 10 times of the land that you want today versus palm oil. Do we have enough land? Then you go into the other issues. We are deforesting, growing olive just to extracting the oil. That's another first issues. Second, a lot of people misinterpret on palm oil having a lot of unsaturated fats and whatever that going to create and a lot of issues. But do you all know that palm oil is the richest, it's the oil with the richest of vitamin E. And it's the only oil in the world have carotenoid. And what is carotenoid? It's actually good for your heart. I think a lot of research has been done, particularly I think on palm oil. Probably if you can study a little bit more, who are the funders for those research? Go and do a bit more studies on that. Go and look at who fund the research and all these accusations on palm oil. I think that is, again, I said finding the right facts is important. And at one point, I think everyone heard about this term, 3-MCPD. It's a very disaster terms coming into palm oil. Okay? And then if you study on the 3-MCPD issues, who actually do the research? Someone from non-Malaysians, someone from overseas, study research on palm oil, and then, oh yeah, we have too many 3-MCPD and causing a lot of disasters and disease and cancer and whatever. How many samples did you do? Okay, study the report, how many samples did they study, and then how they draw the conclusions. Okay, and because a lot of people just read the headlines. You read, as a researcher, please read the whole articles. I know a lot of students only write the title, abstract, and conclusion. In the middle, all the read one, because not important. That's how you do literature review for your final year project, right? Yeah, but please, being a responsible researcher, please read the whole articles. And you study how they actually draw conclusions, how many samples that they do, and how this come into place. I do agree that 3-MCPD or whatever it is actually an issue. It's just that, is that significant? The answer is depends on the process that they are dealing with. Some processes actually are able to reduce the 3-MCPD content. I think the challenge is always the correct compound. Where is the correct compound come from if you talk about 3-MCPD? Is the fertilizer. Therefore, we always encourage use organic fertilizers. Because if you use organic fertilizers, it can reduce significantly on correct compound, and your products will be reducing the 3-MCPD directly. You don't need to do a lot of washing and whatever, where you have an oil loss and so. Being engineers, you need to study the whole value chain. Don't only study one part where, oh yeah, we can 3-MCPD, wash, distill. In this world, it's not only distillation can do the job. You also can do the raw, start from the core of your products. And then again, study why our oil is not as rich in certain nutrients, or our oil is actually rich in certain nutrients. I think if you look on olive oil, they actually use cold press. It's just like coconut oil, they use cold press. So they need heat. So that's why they can reduce the free fatty acids. But we, as a palm oil, we use sterilization. But I can take this challenge. Palm oil processing has not been changed for the last 100 years old. Being a creative chemical engineering on the ground, can you do something about it? Can you actually think about more creative way to extract the oil from the fruitlet, which is the maximum productivity? I think with that, we will have a transformation change for our industry. All right, thank you.
Yeah, this is for me. This is quite a personal thing on the palm oil, right? So, so if you compare palm oil to olive oil, so I'm not sure how much you know about olive oil. So, because I do a lot of survey in the market and all this, right? So, I think as a chemical engineer, so you have to understand your feedstock, right? So, what are the things you're talking about? You're talking about these are saturated fats and monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats, whereas olive oil is mainly these monounsaturated fat with C18-1, which is oleic acid that is in the triglyceride, right? So by having said that, what is oleic acid? Oleic acid, you have a double bond in these C18 carbon chains, right? So what does it mean with the double bonds, right? So I'm not sure if any of you have taken this organic chemistry where the double bond are prone to oxidations, right? So where double bond is subject to high temperature, right? For example, frying. So there is occurrence of a possibility of turning the cis structure into trans structure, right? So when it turns to trans structure, so that is actually increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease, right? So that's why a lot of soft oil are going through hydrogenation process to make it slightly harder, so they can use into your margin and spread, that is used into your potato chips like sprinkles. No, it's not sprinkles, Pringles, and also those those chips are they find in the market. If you turn at the back or your peanut butter jam, you will see that there's per 100 gram of serving, there is a 0.4 gram or 0.5 gram of these trans fatty acids. A lot of these are coming from soft oil, can be soybean oil, can be rapeseed oil, and can be from olive oil, right? So for example, olive oil are good for salad dressing, so which is not subject to high temperature. But if you use olive oil for frying, so that will be quite disastrous, because that you'll be forming a lot of these unstable oil that promote free radicals and also promote these trans fatty acid formations. So next time, so buy the palm oil for frying, and if you want to eat more salad, then you can buy this olive oil. Yeah, so.
Okay, before we go to next, I want to highlight to this short. First of all, Malaysia weather, I don't think it's good to plant olive. I'm not sure how many olive trees you see in Malaysia. So far, my house got one, I smuggled back from Greece. Okay, secondly is, actually in Malaysia, we have a very high quality and high pricing oil, we call red palm oil. You can check in the market, the price is almost close to olive oil as well. Yeah, we should appreciate that. Then you try one, then you should know how good is the oil.
Yeah, just to talk a little bit on top of all this, olive oil not suitable for frying, etc. Palm oil actually not for edible oil only. Palm oil, we have the kernel. We have the kernel inside is a C1214 carbon chain, which is used for detergent, shampoo, your soaps, and etc. We have quite a long value chain. It's not just for edible oil reason. Yeah. So it's not we don't compare it one to one, but rather yeah, this is palm oil. There's something that is that cannot be replaced by the olive oil. Yeah.
Okay, we welcome another student. We have a very good session, so we would like to have you. That student, maybe? You raising your hand? No. No? Okay.
Probably more thing to say about it.
Yeah, you can still talk about olive oil. No objections. I love olive oil, yeah. Well, can we have another student, please? Okay, here we go.
Hello, my name is Gaishan and I'm currently a second year chemical engineering student in UM. So my topic is about the palm oil, and as we all know, palm oil is a commonly used ingredient in many of our everyday products, from food items to cosmetic and cleaning products. So, however, the production of palm oil has a devastating impact on the environment, wildlife, and local communities. Based on the internet, the cultivation of palm oil has been linked to habitat damage, deforestation, and the eradication of indigenous tribes. In Indonesia and Malaysia, 3.5 million hectares of forest were removed between 1990 and 2010 for palm oil plantations. The clearing of forests also contributes to climate change, as forests are important carbon sinks that help regulate the Earth's climate. In addition, palm oil production often involves the use of harmful pesticides and fertilizers, which can pollute water source and harm local communities. So, as a consumer, we have the power to make a difference by choosing products that do not contain palm oil or only reuse the sustainable source palm oil. We can support the use of sustainable palm oil as a consumer, that we can support ethical palm oil production, which is environmental protection. By purchasing goods made with sustainable palm oil and encouraging ethical palm oil production, we can all make the changes. Therefore, it's time to take action and raise awareness about the dangers of palm oil production. We cannot continue to ignore the devastating impact it is having on our planet and its inhabitants. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This student generally comment on the general impact from the palm industry, basically palm plantation thing. Yeah? So, any feedback?
Okay, I will take that. Yes, I think I do agree, if we don't practice sustainably, I think we will destroy the environment. Any industry, any culture, agriculture, any industry, doesn't matter, it's only palm oil, anyone doesn't practice sustainable way, it will just destroy the environment. I think just have to accept it. But having said that, I think palm oil in Malaysia in particularly has been getting more scrutinized from the West. Whether you like it or not, it is something happening. I think we, palm oil, are proud to share with you that we are the most sustainable certified palm vegetable oil in the world. You hear about sustainable RSPO, which is Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil, but you have never heard about Roundtable or soybean oil. You have not heard about round table or sustainable or rapeseed oil, but it's only palm oil. Okay, but it's fine. I mean, it's okay. We accept that we are being scrutinized, we are being focused. Now I'm glad to share this because of this scrutiny. We are now become more sustainable, more take up the challenge, and then practice more sustainable way. Yes, I do agree that you may see historically our people are not practicing it very well, not managing their fertilizer or pesticide well. But now, with all this certification, with all this requirement from the West, from the country, from whoever, consumer, I think the planters are now more disciplined and also being more educated. With the IR 4.0 coming into place, you can see more and more mechanizations coming into place, and then we'll be making palm oil as the clean environment for the people. We want to work together, we want to have oil, at the same time, we also want to have sustainable way to produce it. It's always alignment with our SDG 12, which is sustainable production and consumptions. So we need to be responsible for our own consumptions. At the same time, the production side also, they are doing their best to work together. So let's work together to make our palm oil being the only oil which is more sustainable, the most sustainable oil in the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Tony. I think it's almost the time for us come to the end. So we are very happy because today I think the response is very well from the students. So I believe you all will be a very good chemical engineer in the future. Yeah. So I pass the mic back to the MC.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Lam Hon Loong, Yang Gurusala Professor Engineer Dr. Danny Coxon Hung, Mr. Dennis Tan Woon Yong, and Mr. Hee Chen Siang for your insights on today's discussion. I believe our participants have gained fruitful knowledge throughout the session.
Now, let us invite Ms. Ng Sin Tong to present the tokens of appreciation to our moderator and panelists. First, Professor Dr. Lam Hon Loong.
Second, Yang Gurusala Professor Engineer Dr. Danny Coxon Hung.
Thirdly, Mr. Dennis Tan Woon Yong.
And last but not least, Mr. Hee Chen Siang.